Vincent Torres pressed his calloused fingers against the steel strings of his acoustic guitar, the familiar ache reminding him of another long day ahead. The corner of Southwest Morrison Street and Broadway had become his stage for the past 3 years, a humble spot where tourists and office workers passed by in their own worlds. At 32, this was not where he had imagined his music career would take him. The October morning brought a crisp breeze through downtown Portland, carrying the scent of roasting coffee from nearby cafes. Vincent adjusted the battered guitar case at his feet, already containing a modest collection of coins and bills. His voice rose above the city noise as he sang an original ballad about second chances, pouring genuine emotion into every word. Most pedestrians hurried past without a second glance. Some dropped spare change without breaking stride. A few stopped to listen for a moment before moving on. Vincent had learned to read the crowd, to spot the difference between polite acknowledgement and genuine connection. After 3 years of street performing, he could tell when his music actually reached someone. That morning, he noticed her for the first time. A small girl with dark braids and oversized glasses stood at the edge of the gathering crowd, completely still. She clutched a worn backpack decorated with hand-drawn stars and carried a lunchbox shaped like a turtle. Unlike the adults around her, she was not checking her phone or glancing at her watch. She simply listened. Vincent finished his song and transitioned into a more upbeat melody. The girl remained rooted to her spot, her eyes wide behind those thick lenses. When he completed the second song, she clapped enthusiastically, her small hands creating a sound that seemed louder than it should have been. Then, as quickly as she had appeared, she turned and walked toward the bus stop. The same pattern repeated. The next day, Vincent arrived at his usual spot around 8 in the morning, setting up his equipment with practiced efficiency. Within an hour, the girl appeared again. She stood in the exact same location, listening with the same intense focus. This time, Vincent caught himself performing directly to her, choosing songs with stronger melodies and clearer stories. On the third day, Vincent brought a small folding stool and placed it near his guitar case. When the girl arrived, he gestured toward it between songs. She hesitated, looking around as if checking for permission from some invisible authority. Then she carefully sat down, arranging her backpack beside her feet. "Do you have a favorite song?" Vincent asked during a break, unscrewing the cap from his water bottle. The girl considered the question with serious deliberation. "The one about the bird learning to fly again. That one makes me feel hopeful." Vincent smiled. That particular song, Broken Wings, was one of his earliest compositions, written during a difficult period after his father's death. "That's my favorite, too. What's your name?" "Lily." "I'm 7 3/4. The 3/4 is important, because I'm almost 8. She spoke with the earnest precision of a child who had learned to explain herself clearly. "Well, Lily, who is 7 3/4, I'm Vincent. Do you live around here?" She nodded. "We take the bus from the community center. Miss Rebecca brings us downtown twice a week for library time. I always ask if we can leave a little early so I can hear you play." Over the next few days, Vincent learned small pieces of Lily's story through brief conversations. She lived with a foster parent named Rebecca. She loved drawing pictures of animals. She did not like loud noises or sudden movements. She thought Vincent's music sounded like sunshine fields. Friday afternoon brought unexpected rain, the kind of sudden downpour that sent people scrambling for cover. Vincent quickly packed his guitar into its case, protecting it from the water. He was preparing to leave when he saw Lily running toward him, her jacket pulled over her head. "Wait! Please wait!" she called out, slightly breathless. Vincent held his guitar case over both of them like an awkward umbrella. "Lily, where's your foster mom? You should not be out here alone in the rain." "Miss Rebecca is at the library still. I ran ahead because I needed to ask you something important." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a crumpled dollar bill, carefully smoothing it with her small fingers. "This is my allowance. I saved it for 2 weeks. Lily, you don't have to pay me. You can listen for free any time." She shook her head firmly. "This is not for listening. This is for a special request. Can you play a song for Miss Rebecca? She's been very sad lately because her sister died. I heard her crying in her room at night. Your music makes people feel better. Maybe it could help her too." Something in Vincent's chest tightened. He had been so focused on his own struggles, his own disappointments about his stalled music career, that he had forgotten the real power music could hold. He knelt down to Lily's eye level, rain soaking through his jacket. "Tell me about Miss Rebecca," he said gently. Lily's face brightened despite the rain. "She's the best person in the whole world. She takes care of 5 kids right now. She makes funny pancakes shaped like animals. She reads us stories every night even when she's really tired. She always remembers which vegetables each kid doesn't like. And she gives the best hugs, the kind that make you feel safe. She sounds pretty special. She is. But she's been carrying around this heavy, sad feeling since her sister got sick and died. I want her to feel happy again. Your music made me feel better when I was missing my birth mom. Maybe it could work for Miss Rebecca too." Vincent found himself deeply moved by this child's compassion. "I'll tell you what, Lily. You keep your allowance money. Instead, how about you bring Miss Rebecca here tomorrow? I'll play whatever song you think she needs to hear." "Really? You would do that?" "Absolutely. But Lily, I want you to understand something. Music can help people feel their feelings, but it cannot take away grief. Your Miss Rebecca will be sad for a while, and that's okay. The sadness means she loved her sister very much." Lily nodded solemnly. "I know. I just want her to remember that good things still exist. That's what your music does. It reminds people about good things." The next morning, Vincent arrived earlier than usual. He had spent hours the previous night thinking about what song to play. He finally settled on composing something new, a gentle melody about carrying light through dark times. As he tuned his guitar, he saw Lily approaching with a woman in her mid-30s. Rebecca Harper looked exactly as Lily had described someone who carried both strength and sorrow. She had kind eyes that crinkled at the corners, suggesting someone who smiled often despite current pain. Her hand rested protectively on Lily's shoulder as they walked. "Miss Rebecca, this is Vincent. He's the musician I told you about," Lily announced proudly. Rebecca extended her hand. "Lily has been talking about you all week. I appreciate you taking time to connect with her. She does not warm up to people easily." "The pleasure has been entirely mine," Vincent replied honestly. "Lily mentioned you've been going through a difficult time. I'm very sorry about your sister." Rebecca's composure faltered slightly, but she maintained her smile. "Thank you. It's been challenging, especially trying to stay strong for the kids. They depend on stability, and I'm determined to provide that even when everything feels unstable." Vincent began to play, letting the new melody flow through his fingers. He had titled it Light Carriers in his mind, though he did not share that with his audience. As he sang about people who hold candles for others in the darkness, who give freely of their own light even when their own flames burn low, he watched Rebecca's expression shift. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but she was smiling. Lily moved closer to her, taking her hand. Other pedestrians stopped to listen, drawn by the raw emotion in Vincent's voice. When the song ended, the small crowd erupted in applause. But Vincent only cared about the 2 people standing directly in front of him. "That was beautiful," Rebecca said, her voice thick with emotion. "How did you know exactly what I needed to hear?" "I had a very insightful consultant," Vincent replied, winking at Lily. "She told me you take care of 5 children, make animal-shaped pancakes, and give the best hugs. She wanted you to remember that good things still exist." Rebecca pulled Lily into an embrace, kissing the top of her head. "You are one of those good things, sweet girl." As the three of them talked, Vincent learned that Rebecca ran a small community center that provided after-school care and support for foster children. She had been a social worker before opening the center 3 years ago, determined to create a safe space for kids transitioning between homes. Her sister had been her business partner until cancer took her 6 months ago. "The center is struggling without her," Rebecca admitted. "She handled all the fundraising and grant writing. I'm good with kids, but terrible at asking for money. We might have to close by the end of the year if we can't secure more funding." An idea began forming in Vincent's mind, something that felt right in a way nothing had felt right in a long time. "What if I could help with that?" Rebecca looked at Vincent with a mixture of hope and skepticism. "Help? That's very kind, but I could never ask you to get involved in our problems. You barely know us." Vincent surprised himself with his next words. "I'd like to change that. What if I volunteered at the center a few afternoons a week? I could teach music classes to the kids, no charge, of course." Lily bounced on her toes with excitement. "Miss Rebecca, please say yes. Vincent's music makes everything better." Rebecca studied Vincent's face, searching for something. Whatever she found there must have satisfied her, because she nodded slowly. "We meet Monday, Wednesday, and Friday afternoons from 3 to 6. The center is in the Lentz neighborhood. Fair warning, though. These kids have been through trauma. They can be difficult, they test boundaries, and they do not trust easily." "I understand," Vincent said. "I was a foster kid myself once, a long time ago. I remember what it felt like." Something shifted in Rebecca's expression, a recognition of shared experience. "Then you know exactly what you're getting into. Come by this Monday. We'd be grateful to have you." That Monday afternoon, Vincent arrived at the Hope Landing Community Center carrying his guitar and a bag of harmonicas he had purchased from a music shop. The building was a converted house in need of fresh paint, but the yard was filled with colorful murals painted by children's hands. Rebecca greeted him at the door, looking more relaxed in jeans and a sweatshirt than she had in her downtown clothes. "Welcome to Controlled Chaos. Fair warning, Monday afternoons are always the roughest. The kids are adjusting to the week after the weekend." Inside, Vincent found a large common room where 5 children, ranging from ages 6 to 12, were engaged in various activities. A boy around 10 was building an elaborate tower with blocks. Twin girls were arguing over markers at an art table. A teenage boy sat alone in the corner with headphones on, deliberately ignoring everyone. And there was Lily, who rushed over to hug Vincent's legs. "Everyone, this is Vincent," Rebecca announced. "He's going to be teaching music with us on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays." The response was underwhelming. The block builder glanced up briefly before returning to his tower. The twins stopped arguing long enough to stare. The teenager did not acknowledge Vincent's existence at all. "Tough crowd," Vincent whispered to Rebecca. She smiled. "Give them time. They've learned that. Adults often make promises they do not keep." Vincent spent that first afternoon simply observing and offering quiet participation. He played gentle background music while the children did homework. He showed the block builder how to create rhythm patterns by tapping different materials. He sat with the twins and let them draw designs on an old guitar pick. The teenager, whose name was Marcus, never took off his headphones, but Vincent noticed him tapping his foot to the music. By the 3rd week, something remarkable began to happen. The children started requesting specific songs. They asked questions about how instruments worked. The block builder, a boy named Timothy who rarely spoke, began humming melodies throughout the afternoon. The twins, Sophia and Samantha, created elaborate stories to go along with Vincent's songs. Even Marcus started participating, though he pretended it was reluctant. He asked Vincent about different genres of music, revealing an encyclopedic knowledge of hip-hop history. Vincent brought in a simple keyboard, and Marcus spent an entire afternoon experimenting with creating beats. "You're really good with them," Rebecca said one evening as they cleaned up after the children had been picked up by their various caregivers. "Timothy has not hummed in the 6 months he's been with us. You reached him in 3 weeks." Vincent felt warmth spread through his chest. "Music has a way of speaking when words fail. I should know. After my dad died, I did not talk for almost a year. My foster mom at the time gave me a guitar, and suddenly I had a voice again." Rebecca paused in her sweeping, looking at him with new understanding. "Is that why you became a street musician? To give others that same gift?" "Honestly, I became a street musician because I failed at becoming a famous one," Vincent admitted. "I moved to Portland 5 years ago with big dreams, record deals, sold-out shows, the whole fantasy. But the industry wanted me to be someone I was not. They wanted to change my sound, my image, everything that made my music authentic. I refused, and I've been playing on street corners ever since." That must have been disappointing. It was devastating at first. I felt like a failure. But now, watching these kids light up when they discover they can create music, watching Lily's face when she finally masters a simple melody on the harmonica, I'm starting to think maybe I did not fail. Maybe I just succeeded at something different than what I planned. Rebecca set down her broom and sat on one of the small chairs. "Can I tell you something? When my sister died, I almost gave up on this place. The debt felt insurmountable. The grief felt crushing. But then I'd see kids like Lily, who need this space, who need stability and love, and I could not walk away. You arriving when you did? It felt like a sign that we're supposed to keep fighting." Vincent sat across from her. "How bad is the financial situation really?" She sighed. "We have enough funding to last until January, maybe February if we're extremely careful. After that, I'll have to close the doors unless we secure a major donation or grant. I've applied to every foundation I can find, but competition is fierce and we're small. Nobody wants to invest in a community center run by one grieving woman in an overlooked neighborhood." An idea that had been forming in Vincent's mind for weeks suddenly crystallized. "What if we organized a benefit concert? I know musicians all over Portland. We could rent a small venue, sell tickets, maybe get some local businesses to sponsor. I'm not famous, but I have connections in the music community." Rebecca's eyes widened. "Would people actually come to a benefit concert for a small foster care center? People come to events that tell good stories. And Rebecca, you have an incredible story. This center is changing lives. These kids are discovering hope and stability. That's a story worth supporting." Over the next month, Vincent threw himself into concert planning with the same passion he once reserved for his own music career. He reached out to every musician he had ever played alongside. He designed flyers with Sophia and Samantha's help. He convinced a local coffee roaster to donate refreshments. He secured a community theater that agreed to rent their space at a reduced rate. Rebecca worked alongside him, her organizational skills complementing his creative energy. They spent late evenings at the center after the children left, planning, logistics, and reaching out to potential supporters. During these quiet hours, Vincent found himself falling for Rebecca in ways that both terrified and thrilled him. She was unlike anyone he had dated before. She was practical where he was idealistic. She planned while he improvised. But they shared a deep belief in the power of investing in broken things and helping them become whole. She saw potential in wounded children. He saw potential in struggling artists. Together, they began to see potential in each other. One evening, as they worked on seating arrangements for the concert, Lily wandered out from the back room where she had been sleeping on a couch. She was supposed to be at a sleepover, but it had been canceled last minute, so Rebecca had brought her back to the center. "Miss Rebecca, are you and Vincent going to get married?" Lily asked, with the blunt honesty of a child not yet trained in social filters. Rebecca's face turned crimson. "Lily, that's not an appropriate question." But Vincent laughed, scooping Lily up and spinning her around. You know what, Lily? I think you might be the wisest 7 3/4-year-old I've ever met. You see things clearly. He set her down and looked at Rebecca, his heart pounding. I know this is complicated. I know we're just getting to know each other. But I need you to know that being here, working with you and these kids, has given my life meaning I did not know I was missing. You've all become incredibly important to me. Rebecca's eyes glistened with unshed tears. Vincent, I can't let myself hope for things that might disappear. These kids have had enough disappointment. I've had enough disappointment. Then let me prove I'm not going anywhere, Vincent said softly. Let me show you that some people keep their promises. The benefit concert was scheduled for the first Friday in December. As the date approached, Vincent felt both excitement and nervous energy building. This event had become about more than just saving the community center. It had become about proving that his music could create real change, that his life's work mattered in tangible ways. The night before the concert, Vincent received an unexpected phone call from a music producer he had worked with years ago. The conversation would change everything, presenting Vincent with an impossible choice between the life he had always wanted and the life he was building. Vincent stared at his phone long after the call ended, his hands trembling slightly. Derek Chin, a producer from Lighthouse Records in Los Angeles, had somehow heard about the benefit concert. More surprisingly, he wanted to attend. Even more surprisingly, he mentioned having a recording contract ready if Vincent was interested in finally pursuing that major label deal. This is your shot, man, Derek had said enthusiastically. We're putting together a tour for emerging folk artists. 3 months, 20 cities, full production support. But we'd need you in Los Angeles by January to start recording. I know. It's sudden, but these opportunities do not wait. Vincent sat in his small studio apartment, surrounded by the posters and flyers for tomorrow's benefit concert. Images of the children's faces smiled back at him from the promotional materials. Lily had drawn a special poster featuring stick figures of all of them holding hands under a rainbow. Rebecca had framed it and hung it in the center lobby. How? Could he tell them he might be leaving? The next evening, the community theater buzzed with energy as people filed in for the concert. Vincent had expected maybe 100 attendees. Instead, nearly 300 people packed the venue, filling every seat and standing along the walls. Local news crews set up cameras in the back. The coffee roaster had donated enough refreshments for twice the expected crowd. Backstage, Vincent paced nervously while Rebecca gave final instructions to the volunteer ushers. She looked radiant in a simple black dress, her hair swept up elegantly. When she caught him watching, she smiled and walked over. You did this, she said, gesturing to the crowded theater. You brought all these people together. Vincent wanted to tell her about Derek's call, about the impossible decision weighing on him. But before he could speak, Lily appeared with the other children, all dressed in their best clothes and vibrating with excitement. Is it time yet? Can we perform our song now? Timothy asked, his usual quietness replaced with eager anticipation. Over the past month, Vincent had worked with the children to create an original song about finding home. They had written lyrics together, chosen instruments, and practiced until they knew every note. The plan was for them to perform during the concert's finale. Soon, Vincent promised. Let's watch the other musicians first and learn from them. The concert opened with a local folk duo that had Vincent mesmerized with their harmonies. A jazz quartet followed, then a solo cellist who made her instrument weep with emotion. Each performer had donated their time, and each delivered their absolute best. When Vincent finally took the stage for his set, he felt the weight of every person in that room. He opened with Broken Wings, the song that had first connected him with Lily. As he sang, he saw her in the front row, mouthing every word. He performed several original pieces, each one carrying pieces of his journey from disillusioned dreamer to someone who had found purpose in unexpected places. Then he invited the children onto the stage. They filed out nervously, clutching their instruments. Lily carried her harmonica. Timothy had a small drum. Marcus sat at the keyboard with forced nonchalance that could not hide his pride. The twins shared a xylophone, and a newer addition to the center, a shy girl named Grace, held a tambourine. "These kids are the reason we're all here tonight," Vincent told the audience. "They've taught me that music is not about fame or fortune. It's about connection, healing, and finding your voice when the world tries to silence you. This song is called We Found Home, and they wrote every word." What followed was imperfect and beautiful. Timothy missed a few beats. Lily's harmonica squeaked once. But the lyrics they sang together carried truth that transcended technical precision. They sang about feeling lost, about being afraid, about finding people who chose to love them anyway. The audience was silent, captivated. When the song ended, the theater erupted in standing ovation. Several people were openly crying. Vincent saw Rebecca in the wings, tears streaming down her face as she watched her children bow awkwardly under the spotlight. In that moment, Vincent knew with absolute certainty what his answer to Derek would be. After the concert, as volunteers counted donation boxes and attendees mingled over coffee, Derek Chen approached Vincent with an outstretched hand. He was younger than Vincent expected, maybe 40, with an easy smile and sharp eyes. "That was extraordinary," Derek said. "Exactly the kind of authentic storytelling our label wants to promote. Have you thought about my offer?" Before Vincent could respond, Rebecca appeared at his side. "Offer?" she asked, her voice careful. Vincent took a deep breath. "Derek is a music producer from Los Angeles. He wants to sign me to a recording contract and send me on a national tour, starting in January." Rebecca's face went carefully blank, the same expression Vincent had seen her use when receiving difficult news about funding denials. "That's wonderful, Vincent. Congratulations." "I have not accepted yet," Vincent said quickly. "I wanted to talk to you first." Derek glanced between them, reading the tension. "Listen, I can give you a few days to think about it, but Vincent, opportunities like this do not come around often. You're talented, you're authentic, and you've clearly got a gift for connecting with people. That's rare." After Derek left to speak with some of the other musicians, Rebecca turned to Vincent. Her composure was cracking, revealing the pain underneath. "You should take it. This is what you've always wanted." "Can we talk somewhere private?" Vincent asked. They found an empty dressing room backstage. Rebecca stood with her arms crossed, protecting herself. "Vincent, you do not owe me any explanations. We never made promises to each other." "Maybe we should have," Vincent said. "Rebecca, these past few months working with you, with the kids, have been the most meaningful of my life. I do not want to give that up. But this is your dream. This is the career you moved to Portland to find. I cannot be the reason you give that up. I will not be responsible for your regret." Vincent moved closer, taking her hands in his. 5 years ago, my dream was fame and recognition. Today, my dream is watching Timothy find his voice through music. My dream is seeing Lily's face light up when she masters a new song. My dream is building something real with someone who sees the world the way I do." Rebecca's tears finally fell. "What if it does not work out between us? What if you stay and then realize you made a mistake? What if I leave and spend the rest of my life knowing I walked away from something real? Rebecca, I'm not choosing you over my music. I'm choosing a life where my music serves something bigger than my ego. The children will be devastated if you leave," Rebecca whispered. "I'll be devastated." "Then I'm not leaving," Vincent said firmly. "I'm going to call Derek tomorrow and turn down the tour. But I am going to accept the recording contract on one condition. I want to create an album about this place, these kids, this community. I want to record here, use local musicians, and donate a portion of proceeds to the center. If Lighthouse Records wants authentic storytelling, I'll give them The most authentic story I know. Rebecca looked up at him, hope and fear warring in her expression. You'd really do that? I already decided before Derek even showed up tonight. Watching you with those kids, seeing the family you've built from broken pieces, I realized I've already found everything I was searching for. They stood in that small dressing room, the sounds of celebration filtering through the walls, and Rebecca finally let herself believe. She wrapped her arms around Vincent's neck, and he pulled her close. I'm terrified, she admitted against his shoulder. I'm terrified of hoping for this. Me too, Vincent said, but Lily told me once that hope is what reminds us good things still exist. I think we owe it to ourselves to be brave enough to hope. 3 weeks later, on Christmas Eve, Vincent stood in the community center surrounded by children, volunteers, and supporters. The benefit concert had raised enough money to keep the center operating for 18 months. Additionally, Derek had agreed to Vincent's terms for the album, with Lighthouse Records providing an advance that would fund a permanent music program at Hope Landing. Lily approached Vincent carrying a folded piece of paper. I wrote you something, she said shyly. Miss Rebecca helped me with the spelling. Vincent unfolded the letter and read words that would stay with him forever. In careful printing, Lily had written, Dear Vincent, thank you for teaching me that family is not just who you're born to, it's who chooses to stay. You chose us. Love, Lily. Rebecca appeared beside him, reading over his shoulder. She's right. You know. You chose us when you could have chosen fame. That means everything. Vincent pulled both of them into an embrace. You're wrong about one thing, though. I did not choose between you and my dreams. I just realized my dreams had changed. They got bigger and better than anything I imagined. As snow began falling outside the windows, Vincent picked up his guitar. The children gathered around and he began playing a new song he had been writing. It was about street corners and second chances, about little girls with big hearts and women who saved broken things. It was about finding home in unexpected places and learning that success was not measured in fame, but in the lives you touched. Marcus joined in on keyboard. Timothy added rhythm on his drum. Lily played her harmonica with confidence she had not possessed months ago. Rebecca watched them all with tears of joy streaming down her face. Vincent had spent years chasing a version of success that would have left him empty. Instead, he had stumbled into a life filled with purpose, love, and music that actually mattered. He had found his song, and it sounded exactly like home.